Hello, friends, and welcome to Love Talk Network. Coach Carrie Brinker here, and I am in studio with my beautiful, amazing, awesome, wonderful co-host, Kathy Enderbrock. We are missing our amazing Marlene McMichael. Kathy, Marlene is going through today. We are discussing for the two of us navigating this empty nest life and saying goodbye to a season that we've had, and now navigating something completely new. Marlene is also experiencing this. Her daughter, Cara, has lived in San Antonio for the last few years, which is about, I don't, on a bad day, 2 hours from
Mhm.
where Marlene lives. And so, pretty easy drive up down I-35 to see her daughter. But now her daughter's moving to DC and Washington, D.C., that is, and doing amazing work, important work. But gosh, it's hard on Marlene too. She's navigating a new season as well. So we are missing her today as she gets Cara all settled in up in our nation's capital.
Yeah, well, we'll look forward to having her with us next week as we're going to be doing some really fun interviews. But yeah, Coach Carrie, I mean, we're talking today about saying goodbye to a season, and in last week's program, we talked a little bit about this week's program, Up and Coming, because we want you to be able to share these programs with those people that you know need to hear it. So on Love Talk, we are real people sharing real stories about God's love. And so we share real stories right where He has us. And when we bring in guests onto Love Talk, we want to hear their stories about what God has done in their lives and what God is using them to do for His kingdom. And Coach Carrie, I love that this summer we have had incredible guests. We've had
Wow.
Alan Graham and June Hunt, and I had someone talk to me about the Shelby Ebner
Yes.
interview. She was fantastic. And have you had any other favorites from this summer?
Well, Julia Jeffress Sadler was amazing. She's so
Yes.
spunky and fiery. I loved our interview with Alan Graham. I just think he's so real. I think he's so relatable. He's so personable. He's he's living out scripture by taking care of those that many don't want to take care of with the homeless population. It's been amazing. We also got to talk to um, Dr. Hang on, why am I losing that right now?
Dr. Susan
Susan
Michael.
Michael. I was trying to say
Yes.
Michael. Yes, Dr. Susan Michael, so knowledgeable about everything going on in Israel. So much knowledge there. A 30-year career that really gets kind of behind the scenes and
Yeah.
helped me understand some things that I've been kind of wrestling with. I was a fantastic interview. So yeah, Kathy, we've really had an amazing summer.
Well, and I love all of our friends on Love Talk who have listened just over the last 40 years on radio every single week.
Yeah.
And friends, those of you who are now watching us on YouTube, we so appreciate you. And we do ask that you will hit that like and subscribe button. It costs nothing. Nothing will be sent to you other than just a notification saying, hey, a new program is dropped and this is who it's with. You might be interested in listening. So it makes it much easier to share. And the more people that do subscribe, the more people then that the algorithms push our program out to. And so we want to be the good news in the people in someone's day who needs to hear the good news, and how we can just walk out just the light and life of Christ in our everyday and be authentic and effective right where He's placed us. So we just appreciate when you do that. And thanks so much for continuing to listen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, as you guys know, Kathy's daughters, all of them are now married within a 2 year. Kathy, has it been two? Yeah, within a 2 year
Yes.
span, right? And two of those daughters just recently got married within 6 weeks of each other. And I tell you what, this 2025 has been eventful, full of twists and turns, and navigating joy and uncertainty and frankly, new beginnings as well. We all know that parenting is a journey. And today we're going to talk about a very specific part of that journey, which for Kathy and I is what is the next great chapter? And it's very interesting to think about. And so I'm excited to hear Kathy's take on a lot of this today, and I'll share mine as well. It's a moment that, Kath, I've anticipated for a long time, right? And now my kids are a junior and a senior in college. And I mean, I've been an empty nester now for 2 years. So I'm gonna explore today why this year feels so different. And it honestly does. I think for some of us, it's nothing like we imagined, or maybe it's everything we imagined. Um, it's that quiet, empty house when the last kiddo leaves for college. And for you, Kath, it's just this beautiful chaos of weddings followed by now a stillness in your home. On this show, we are going to share our real life experiences, and it's this crossroads in life that we're both dealing with, navigating what it means to be a mom in this brand new season, a parent for you dads out there, what it means to be a parent in this brand new season. Because, Kathy, I'd like to discuss this a little bit today. Like, I'm sure Eric's reaction and the way he's dealing with the girls being gone is probably very different than yours. I know that Ashley's is very different than mine. So I'll be excited to discuss that. And something that I'm trying to rest in and be still in is that it's okay to hold tension of this extreme joy for my adult kids, and this I don't really want to call it sadness. I guess it kind of is right now. A sadness of letting go.
It is. It does feel like a kind of a loss. And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if any of our listeners out there have ever lost your job before, and you just go, "What do I do now?" I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be a little bit closer to being laid off because you know it's coming, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there is that loss. There's that change, and it's one of those changes where you do have to be open-handed and let go, but it is a joy because we know that it's only the healthy chicks that leave the nest, right? I mean, we have these beautiful little nests in our doorway. I think they're barn swallows. I'm not 100% sure, but we've had a couple dead baby birds, unfortunately, on our front porch that Eric has, very gently and compassionately for me so that I don't have to go and do it. He's kind of taken and gone and put a little hole in our backyard and put them in there. But then we get to see all the healthy ones fly away. And so we know that there's this joy of getting to see our kids go to college and flourish and excel and become these amazing adults and even surprise us with, we're just like, wow, where did that come from? That is wow. And
Mhm.
then there is that loss of like, I don't get to be with them every day. I don't get to share life with them every day. I don't get to have dinner with them every night.
Mhm.
And, I mean, there are days I definitely text my kiddos every day, but there are some days when I don't get to hear their actual voice all day. That's
Oh,
not fun.
there's you don't have any boys. I mean, you have son-in-laws now, but
Mhm.
son-in-loves now. Um, but boys are different. Like, there could be a week or 10 days go by that I don't hear Logan's voice. I mean, we text. Um, but yeah, it is kind of wild. And so it's this, as you were describing your bird situation to me earlier, I just thought, okay, that's the messy middle, right? You have to clean up poop every day. You like the birds in the nest. They actually bring you joy, but they're messy.
Yes.
Your front porch is messy. And the messy middle is sometimes where we find the joy, right? But then you also have this extreme joy as you see those birds flying the nest and making it out alive, and they're going on to um, flourish. And I think the other lesson in that, Kathy, isn't this the 3rd year these birds have come back to your front porch?
It is, and it's so
Yeah.
funny because the first year, it was like, "Oh, that was a lot more than what we expected," but, I mean, we were videotaping them, and, I mean, it was really neat, but the 2nd year, we're like, "Okay, that's a lot of work," and we started putting up foil so that they wouldn't build their nest, and they were relentless and just kept coming back, and so Eric said, "Alright, just let's let them again this year, and then next year I'm going to look up exactly what we need to do so they don't come back." And so this has been the 3rd year, and we put up foil, we hung CDs, so like it literally, when they came, they were supposed to see all the CDs like reflecting the sunlight and shimmering and shine, and they were supposed to turn around and leave. And that didn't happen. They were relentless once again and started building nests. And we took the first 2 nests down, and they came back and started building nests some more.
Oh
And
my gosh.
we thought, "Oh no, like it's they need a place now to lay their eggs. Like they're not going to have enough time to go and find a nest somewhere else."
Mhm.
And so we went ahead and let them. And so even though yes, it brings us so much joy and it's so fun, it is so messy to the point where we're like, "Okay, not this year." Like, "Okay," but here they are again.
But here they are again, and I think that's, sometimes like our kids, right? We have the messy middle, and we're like, "No, don't bring that mess back in here." But it is joyful, it's bittersweet, this reality of the empty nest. I I've I don't know why, but I feel like I've been on a bit of this emotional roller coaster. I mean, I have been an empty nester now for 2 years. Why is this year different for me? And I think maybe part of it is seeing your girls get married and just you said something to me that you probably don't even realize you said at your youngest daughter's wedding. You said, "It's over. This is it." And I thought, "Oh, what?" I don't know why that hit me so much, but you're right. I mean, God willing, you will never ever plan another wedding again.
Yeah.
And I just thought, wow, okay, gosh, yeah, she's right. And as I look at where my kids are, a junior and a senior in college, Kinsey's actually going to graduate in December, and um, they're they're embarking on being real live grown adults, and my role has to change. I am no longer in their day to day. I don't need to be in their day to day. They're prepared. They're ready. But I need to be ready to be there when they need me. And so I've I've been trying to wrestle with this. Some scripture that has come to mind about this emotional kind of roller coaster I've been on. Ecclesiastes 3:1 through 4. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. Time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance. So it's a little bit of all of it for me. And I'm not mourning anything. I'm just wrestling with moving on to that next phase. And I've got plenty on my plate. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, you do.
I have plenty on my plate, and all the things that I do, I love doing. And I'm so grateful for the opportunities that God has given me, and I know he placed all of these things in my path so that by this time when my house is empty, I would not feel this sense of loneliness or this sense of um, pulling me in another direction. So I'm super grateful for that. So Kathy, when we return to Love Talk, I want to explore this kind of emotional roller coaster. See if you experienced any of that as you were preparing to, goodness, give your daughters away to a man, and for them to start their own families. Now you have become extended family. They now have their own family unit that is their immediate family, which is their husband. And you and Eric have now become extended family.
Yeah.
And so I'll be interested to hear your take on that, friends. So if you're going through this, maybe you have sent your kindergartner to class today and this week, and you're listening to us on Saturday morning, go, "Oh, this is how I'm feeling about kindergarten." We get it. We understand. I can very vividly remember those days as well. So, when we return to Love Talk, saying goodbye to a season and navigating the empty nest, when we return to Love Talk Network right after this.
Welcome back, friends, to Love Talk. I'm Cathy Enderbrock in the Love Talk studio with Coach Carrie Brinker, and we are missing our Marlene McMichael this week, who's in DC, helping her daughter Cara move into a new position that she has accepted there. So grateful for her and Marlene. We look forward to having you back with us next week. Well, Coach Carrie, you did this amazing program, and on Love Talk we say we are real people sharing real stories about God's love, and you are just it has hit you really hard in these last 2 weeks when your kiddos went to college, and you helped Z move in, you helped Logan move in. There's this season now of saying goodbye to the kids and navigating this empty nest. And I love what you said earlier on the first segment of the program, that this isn't like your kid's first semester at college. I mean, Mackenzie's going to graduate this December. Logan, he still has another year to go, but for whatever reasons, kind of hit you hard. And I think when our kids go off to college, we're like these intermittent empty nesters. It's like they're gone, they're home, they're gone, they're home. But now really feeling the weight of, this is going to end. Like, this is the tail end of this season. And then, kind of no more. There was a study, and I'll just share this really quick because I'm interested in your thoughts on this. There was a study that was done, and it said 90% of our time with our kids happen up until age 18 when they leave for college. And then the rest of all the time that we will spend with them is 10% of the total time that we have with them throughout their lives. And I think,
Cathy, just stab me in the gut right there. Okay. I mean, no, I can't.
Yeah. Well, so we've told our kids, we will move wherever you move. Like, we will be unapologetic with that because we want to live in community with you. And so please all move to one state where like you're drivable distance. But there is this truth. And I love what you have on one of your notes, is that we need to really validate the grief. And I think when our kids go off, even to kindergarten for the first day, when they go off to college for the first day, whenever it hits us that this home is empty and this stage of my being a mom is coming to an end, and now I have to shift into a different season, we need to acknowledge that grief, experience that grief, validate that grief, I think, in order to make that transition well.
I agree. And, I feel like the first 2 years that we were empty nesters, people would say, well, how's it going? I'd be like, that's great. I am loving life, which I I was, and I still am. I don't want to come off that I'm not enjoying this. I am enjoying being an empty nester. I am enjoying watching them become amazing humans, amazing adults, and navigating their own path. Gosh, what joy that brings. But that I am sad that the house is not going to be full of teenagers anymore, and late nights, and making chocolate chip cookies at 11 o'clock at night because somebody wants them. All right. I do miss that. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It is okay to acknowledge that those times were great.
And
But
go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
just going to say, but we have to be intentional about making what's next great as well.
I think that is so true. And I wanted, we may not talk about this right now, but I do want to talk about this in the program, is we also have to separate grief of the changing season versus regret and beating ourselves up over, I wish we had just done this. I wish we could do this over. I want a big do-over and I can never have that again. So we never want grief to turn into beating ourselves up. We want to acknowledge that there is this changing season. And then, like you said, celebrate that launch. I mean, what a glorious thing that our kids are going to, like, the next step. Like they're able to step into adulthood and step into it for God's glory. I mean, going and being a being a disciple of Christ out there on their own when they're no longer with us, and stepping into community with other Christians and doing much with what God has given them. I mean, it's just an amazing thing to see the work and the fulfilled promises of the Holy Spirit in their lives.
I 100% agree with that. And celebrating their launch and just letting them know that we are so happy for them to be stepping into the next phase is so, so important. Well, Kathy, I got to ask you this. This summer you've married off your two baby daughters, the middle and the baby, and in a very short period of time, I know that your schedule was wildly packed every day for the last 6 months. It has been packed with just planning details and all of those things. How have you navigated this mix of just wedding day bliss, and you've been so happy for these girls, but also this kind of quiet sadness that may come after that last dress has been put away? How have you navigated that?
Prayer. This is going to sound a little bit quaint, but prayer. And God did something so beautiful. So sometimes during my prayer or Bible study, I'll have a prayer journal and I will write out prayers that I have. And for those of you who watch Love Talk regularly, who have been with us for all of these years, you will know that my youngest daughter, it was a very whirlwind romance. And she, from the time that they met to the time that they got married, was less than a year. And so there were, just like, oh, especially when the young man, Michael, he asked to talk with Eric, and we knew he was going to ask permission to propose to Faithy. And I was just like, Lord, can you just please bring like affirmation and confirmation, like that this is, I mean, we're talking, it just been a few short months since they had met. And God was just so faithful in bringing people who just talked about, like without me even bringing it up, talked about how they had known their spouse for 3 months when they got engaged and how they are now celebrating their 37th wedding anniversary and all that. Well, after the last wedding, I was going and I was writing in my journal, and I was about three-fourths of the way through this journal. And I thought, I wonder what I prayed for on the very first entry on this journal. And so I went to the page one, and page one was July 29th, 2024. So it had been just over a year ago, and it had been 1 year from because my daughter got married July 28th, 2025. So it had been a completed year when my first entry in this journal, one of the things I prayed for was almost 2 paragraphs praying for the husband that God would have for her. Because God had just really saved her from just a very difficult family that was filled with lies and deception and immorality. And whereas the young man was great, the family was just, oh. And but anyway, we thought that was going to be her future, and we were willing to contend with that. But so she had come out of that, and so I just had written out this prayer of 2 paragraphs. Lord, would you make the young man like this, and would he have this, and would his heart be like this, and would he value this, and would he value this in faith? And I went back and I read through that, and it was like a description of her husband. I was sitting there and just in tears because I could not believe that God had provided someone so specific and even so much more than what I had hoped that she would have in the bestest of best case scenarios. And so I really quickly went and I went and took a picture in my journal of these 2 paragraphs and sent it to Faith and Michael, and was like, this was my very first journal entry in this journal on July 29th, 2024.
Wow.
And I'm just blown away. And they just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And it was like God just saying, I am like, I am all over this. Like, I get it. Like, this is my doing. This is my plan, and you just get to enjoy it. And
Mhm.
so that really helped, just knowing that I'm getting to see God do these amazing things, and that He's just so lovingly, intricately involved, and just has the best plan for these kiddos. And so yeah, I would say prayer is what has gotten me through the challenges, the highs, the lows, and just pressing into that relationship with the Lord and bringing Him my joys, bringing Him my sorrows, bringing Him my challenges, and just watching Him do amazing things.
I love that. Bringing it all to the Lord can help us put our emotional roller coaster in check.
Yeah.
And help us to realize that, you know what, this is God's plan. This is His design. He wants our kids to grow up and leave the nest and be their own person. And so let's talk about my second point of the day, which you alluded to. If we have any guilt over parenting, let's say we look back and we were like, sure could have handled that topic about sex better. Um, sure, sure could have navigated the dating scene better. Yeah, we. There are 100 different things I could look back on and go, gosh, I wish I could have done that better. There's also some idols that I think I've built that are false idols. Idols of identity. You know, where does my identity actually lie? Am I actually going to claim that I am a daughter of Christ when I have wrapped up some of my identity in being this amazing mom, right? How do I let that go? This idol of control,
Mm.
that I can control what they do as an adult. False. I cannot.
And if you are, that is unhealthy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that is unhealthy. Um, and maybe it's not an idol. Maybe it's just something that you struggle with, that you just have to constantly say to yourself, you have zero control. God is in control, and they are fine. Right.
Yeah.
Um, Philippians 3, verses 13 through 14. But one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining toward what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Jesus Christ. And it's so true. We cannot dwell on the past. We cannot dwell on the things that we wish we had done. I mean, it's a myth, Kathy, that there's a perfect parent out there. There are
Yes.
no Hello, everyone. If you've not heard this, there are no perfect parents. You will make mistakes. And frankly, sometimes we do need to apologize to our kids about things that maybe were hurtful, or maybe we didn't mean any harm by it, but looking back, we're like, "Oh my stars, I could have handled that better." But you were doing the best job that you could at the time. I think I struggle with this I know I struggle with this way more than Ashley does. Ashley is like, "Carrie, we did the best we could. Like, they're good." He's like, "I don't." He's like, "I don't even think about it. I don't even think about things that I could have done better. I don't. I'm looking forward to the future about ways I want to bless them in the future." I'm like, gosh, my brain does not work like that. Which one are you, Kathy? Do you look back and go, man, I could have done this better, or we could have done this better? And what's your style? What's Eric's style?
Yeah, I mean, Eric is very much like, "Hey, we did the best we could."
Yeah.
He does, he had to work so much, and he wishes that he could have been home more than he was. But I mean, when he was home, he was fully present. He was engaged. He was playing with those kids. He was laughing, and but yeah, it's definitely me. I had I thought, oh my gosh, I just messed that up. I messed that up so big. Like looking
Mm.
that back, I'm like, why did I do that? And there's this one, like, God will impress messages on me, obviously from scripture, but sometimes from the silliest things. And there's this one little cartoon, Bob the Builder. It says, can he fix it? Yes, he can. Or can we fix it? Yes, we can. And God would just replay these words in my mind. Can he fix it? Yes, he can. Like there is nothing that we could have done as a parent that God cannot fix as the better parent, as the better father, as the good father. And so, I think that if there is something that we think that, yeah, we really royally messed up, go to God and ask forgiveness. Like
Yeah.
if you think that you need to go to your kids and ask forgiveness.
Yeah.
And then don't dwell on it. Then you just bring it to the Lord in prayer and you ask him, like, look, if I truly did any irreparable damage, nothing is irreparable in your hands. Fix it. Can you fix it? Yes, you can. I believe that. And so it's knowing that God is able, and he loves to do good things, and the work that he has started, he will complete. And just like the master builder, sometimes the master builder has to go back and fix some of the stuff that the guys under him messed up a little bit. And I believe that is what God does as the heavenly father over these kids. And so we do not have to dwell in that place of guilt. And if we are, we need to stop. We need to bring it to him. We need to seek forgiveness. And then we need to know that that is done. It is gone. And if we continue to dwell on it, we are just being selfish and prideful, thinking that we really have that much power and over the future of our kids.
Wow, that is really true. Getting so wrapped up in self, thinking that it's still about us. It's not. It's
Mhm.
now about them. And you know, as I let all of this roll around in my brain, and I want to look at the things that, my parenting mistakes, and I want to kind of ruminate on those. I have to remember that parenting was a journey, number 1, and that anything I'm holding on to that maybe I regret, or maybe I know I could have done some things better, it is going to inhibit our ability to move forward in relationship with our kids if we
Yes,
can't let go of that.
that's so
Right? These
true.
these burdens from our past will inhibit our future relationships with our adult kids. And so it's time to let them go. And like you said, if we need to go to them, and it just I don't know, I almost see it like as a playful spirit sometimes, unless it's like super egregious. But in a playful spirit, like, hey, I know I did not do a great job with this. If that was hurtful to you, I'm sorry. Um, I was doing the best I could. I was fumbling through that. Man, that was, ooh, I was fumbling through it. So if you ever have questions or you want to talk about something, please let's do that, but let's leave that there and let's move forward in these adult relationships and these adult friendships that we now have, so that our past doesn't burden us. Now, I do want to be very clear here. If you're a parent who has messed up big time, like, um I guess I'm talking about physical, mental, um abuse, then there are things that will have to be repaired in your relationship with your children before you can move forward,
That
period.
is true.
And so those are things we can't joke about. We can't just take lightheartedly. Those are things that have to be dealt with and have to come to light, right? In Luke 8, it tells us that nothing that is in darkness will stay in darkness. The darkness will come to light. And so bringing those things to the light will help heal a relationship and could help you move forward with your children, but keeping it in the dark, for sure, will not allow any movement forward with your children.
Wow. Coach Kerri, I love that you said that because I had not even thought of that, but that is so true that, especially if there's something that your children are bringing to you
Yeah.
for us as moms to dismiss or take lightly or to turn around and blame back on them, like you were just being too sensitive or anything like that. Wow, no, that is not what the Lord would have us do. If our children are bringing something to us, we need to listen, and
Mhm.
we need to, possibly we may need even to seek counsel if
Yeah.
that is what is needed for healing. Especially forms of manipulation, deception, as you said, verbal abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse. I know that, during Christ even warns that prideful behavior is going to increase. There's a lot of narcissism now out there where parents will lie and deceive and manipulate, um, because they believe it's for some higher good. And so I would say that if that is something uh, that you are beginning to face as a parent, where there is something really there that needs to be addressed, address it. Wow, what a great opportunity for healing. What a great opportunity for you to grow in the Lord, for you to really come face to face and objectively in love and in truth, and have the Lord deal with and counsel. The Bible also says he is our wonderful counselor. And if there is those things from the past, then let's deal with them in a matter worthy of the seriousness that they are, and then let's put them in the past. Let's grow from them and put them in the past. And gosh, Kerri, I appreciate you bringing that up. That's so true.
Well, I think there's so many times we tiptoe around the edges, right? And I don't know, maybe this is just me getting older, but I just so feel like we can't tiptoe around the edges. We have to head straight through the middle.
Yeah.
And when we head straight through the middle, we come out on the other side. We do. And we might get caught in the messy middle for a little while. But at least we're there and we're trying to address it, and we're not tiptoeing around on the outside acting like it didn't happen or acting like it doesn't exist. Um, I mean, I want nothing more than to have the most beautiful, healthy relationship with my adult children. And so releasing some of this mom guilt is very, very cathartic. And
I think it's funny, you said there's no perfect mom. I
yeah.
remember a gal told me, not even Mary. That's why God included the picture of her leaving Jesus behind at the temple when he was 12, right? Because just to show,
Yes.
hey, even Mary messed up. Like, it is
Yes.
okay. And we do have examples in the Bible of moms that were beautiful and wonderful and had these amazing qualities, but also messed up at the same time. And one of them that I looked up was Rebecca, who was like wife of Isaac. And she kind of played favorites a little bit. And she actually helped her son Jacob deceive his dad. Now, she had very good reasons. She thought she was doing God's work. But moms, I will tell you, if you are engaging in deception, manipulation, lies, eh, if do not think you are doing God's work. God is like, that's not me.
Nope.
That's not me. That's not how I work. And so, God does use these imperfect examples to show some very negative outcomes in the Bible, but then again, how people step back into relationship with him and how he fixed it. He did amazing things in Jacob's life,
Mhm.
taking him from a place where he was very comfortable with deception, um, to
Mhm.
a place where he was, the patriarch of Israel. So
Mhm. So very true. So very true. So those that are listening, let's just recap. All right. Like, listening friends, you might be on an emotional roller coaster here trying to, I guess, figure out this seesaw, this roller coaster, this tension between being a little bit sad and being so incredibly happy for your kids to find their calling in Jesus. And you might be wrestling with some guilt, overthinking, did I prepare them enough? Are they ready? Can they navigate the next hard thing? Are they ready for that? And if you're finding that you're going back and replaying a lot of things over and over in your head, I would encourage you to get into scripture and to release those things, and know that you've done a good job. Um, when we, Cathy, I guess my prayer has always been, okay, Lord, fill in the gaps. Fill in the gaps. I know there's so many gaps that I can't possibly know how to navigate. I pray that you will fill those in. Well, listening friends, when we return to Love Talk, we will get into our final point of today, reconnecting with your spouse whenever you find yourself in an empty house. How does that work? What's going on? How do you move into the next phase? All right, buckle up, friends. We'll have more with Cathy and Kerri right here on Love Talk Network right after this. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Love Talk Network. Coach Carrie Brinker here in studio with my good friend Cathy Enderbrock. We are missing our Marlene McMichael. She will be back with us next week after she gets her daughter Cara all moved to Washington, D.C. to embark on a brand new journey. I know Marlene will be telling us more about that as the weeks go on. Friends, saying goodbye to a season and navigating the empty nest. Cathy, before we went to break, just talking about, the kind of the emotional roller coaster, how we're dealing with that, releasing the guilt, releasing the idols. I love that you journal and that you can look back on your prayers. I would highly recommend this. So point number 3, reconnecting with your spouse in an empty house. All right, Kath, I always look at you and Eric, and I think that you guys really have great communication, even though you guys are so different, right? Very different personalities, as are Ashley and I guess that's why God puts us together. But I have found that Ashley and I are dealing with the empty nest very differently than each other. I kind of want to be philosophical and talk about things a lot, and I busy myself about with projects and work and things, and Ashley just goes about it in a different way, and that's okay. He's not as introspective as I am, I don't think, and that's fine. He does busy himself about with the work as well. In fact, throws himself into work. So, how do you and Eric deal? Like you guys, with all of your wedding planning and all of the literal busyness
Mhm.
that has ensued over not only the past 6 months, but really the past 2 years. How have you and Eric been intentional about connecting through this time of busyness?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, part of us, it's just get through the lists and get things done, really.
Right,
Um,
right.
we've spent a lot of time discussing how to continue keeping family family, because one of the things that my parents used to do was every few years, they would book a vacation somewhere and they would book a large vacation home. And then they would tell us, anybody who comes, free accommodation.
Oh,
And
nice.
we've discussed, do we do it that way? Do we partially pay for a trip somewhere? Like, Coach Kerri, we're talking about doing a trip to Israel for all of our listeners with Dr. Susan Michael, who invited us to do that. And so Eric and I are discussing, should we tell the kids, hey, we'll cover 50%. If you guys want to cover the other 50%, cheapest trip to Israel you'll ever take, and you're going to get an amazing tour guide. So we go through and do that. I will tell you some of the challenges, and probably it's more me. I love talking and texting with the girls, and I love hearing their voices. And so with me, whenever the girls would call me, I would always put them on speakerphone, and I'd run over to where Eric is, and I'd be like, oh, Faith is on the phone, and we'd all have a talk. But when the girls would call him, he would just take it on his ear and kind of go about doing whatever project he was working on. He would just stick them in his ear, and I'd be like, hey, what's the deal? I'm sharing them with you and you're hogging them all for yourself. And I would say almost like I was feeling jealous. And then I
Yeah.
was like, why
Yeah.
are you calling your dad? You should be calling
Yeah.
me because then you get both of us. But if you just call your dad, you just get your dad. And so I just think for me, I've always been more successful if I tell Eric what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, because even when I think it's super obvious, like he just has not learned, even after what, 31 years, he has not learned how to read my mind, right? Which is like, seriously, it's been 31 years. Like, you should know by now. But so the stuff that, I'm just like, hey, when you get the girls on the phone, unless they need to really talk to you about something personal, which you're the dad, so why would they ever need to do that? But hey, just in case, just put them on speakerphone and come to where I am, because I don't know if you've noticed, but I will do the same for you.
Mhm.
And so getting to, how do you work out our system, just like you've always worked out parenting systems, working out our system for staying in touch with the girls um, has really, really helped. And then Eric and I are just starting to be like, um, having conversations about, what do we want to do? What do we want our time to consist of? Do we want to be involved in a small group? How often do we want to go to the mountains? We have been planning trips to go fishing, which we're really excited about. And we're starting to realize that there are just an exciting time ahead of us, and we have to plan for it. And so I don't know. I mean, we are still kind of just stepping into this, because, like you said, Coach Kerri, like Faith, our youngest and our last, just got married at the end of July. So we are still kind of like, I literally looking at, what new furniture do we want to buy for the house now that the kids have taken all of our furniture when they've moved out? So
No, I hear you. I think something I've been thinking about a little bit is, you know, when we got married at 22, and from age 22 to 30, we did not have any children. Not necessarily by choice. That was just God's design for us. And then at 30, had my first baby. So from 30 to 50, we raised kids. And now from 50, whenever the last one left the nest at 50 or went to college, to 65 is this time where we're still working. We're, our day to day does kind of revolve around work, radio, small group, those things. So that chunk of time, what do we want 50 to 65 to look like? And then what do we want 65 to 80 to look like? And so, gosh, I breaking it down like that is it, it's almost a bit of a halt. Like I have to pause and go, "Oh wow. Okay, I'm well into the third quarter here. I have passed halftime." I have passed halftime. So what do I want third quarter and fourth quarter to look like? Um, and what do we as a unit, what do Ashley and I as a unit want third quarter to look like? Is it going to be a drag or is it going to be fun? What kinds of things can we be like, oh, brag to our children about that we're doing without them? Um, which I think is healthy. That's super healthy. We've navigated what it's like to have them in the home for so long. Now let's navigate the fun of them not being in the home all the time and what that means for us to reconnect and the blessing that that's going to bring to our children um, as they get to know us as adults, right? So I love that you and Eric are planning some trips. I like that. I like that you guys are just navigating this day to day without planning a wedding. You've been so gracious over these last 6 months. You've obviously been involved in radio. Yeah, I don't think you missed a program. But gosh, it was hard. It was really hard. And now that you're sort of taking a breath these last couple of weeks, you've really, ramped up your time with planning guests and all of those things. Um, I think the rediscovering what the us means is important too.
That is so very true. I mean, just looking ahead, we go, okay, well, our kids are out, but we're like in our mid 50s.
Yeah.
I mean, all the women in my family lived into their 90s.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. I mean, what do the next 40 years look like? That's almost our entire life double, right? I
Double.
mean, not quite, but almost.
Yeah.
And so you do have to look and go, wow, there's a lot of life that God has ahead of us. And, Coach Carrie, I like that you bring it in stages
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're probably doing vision boards, I would guess. Yeah.
I
Oh my
did do one
goodness.
of those back in January. I sure did. Um, well, and the other thing is I I I want us to remember what it felt like to be new parents.
Yeah.
The marriage that we knew from 22 to 30 was kind of over because now you're changing diapers and you can't be as spontaneous as you once were. You have to plan things out and life just looks different. And then they move into, high school and life looks different again. So what do you want your marriage to be? It's okay if you look at each other and go, you know what we've been doing this last year is not working. Let's change it. And how do we want to be intentional about changing it? We want to be intentional about moving forward? It's that same thing we talked about in the last segment. You got to go right through the middle. You can't dance around the edges and just pretend like it's all going to be okay and it's all going to work out. It, that will end you up in marriage counseling, which isn't a bad thing. I'm just saying, go through the middle and go, all right, it's different now. What do we want it to look like?
And I mean, what have you never done before that you are now able to do and you want to do? Like, go try that thing. Go do that thing. I mean, if it is, gosh, I don't know, going on a retreat somewhere. There's this little place in Switzerland that I would love to go on a spiritual retreat. I've never did a spiritual retreat with my husband, right? Because Eric's like, what is that? Like, I don't do spiritual retreats, Cathy. But it's like, okay, well, maybe I get to choose one thing to so he gets a new experience and then he gets to try something where I get a new experience where
Yeah.
maybe his thing that he chooses is going to surprise the heck out of me. I'm like, where did this come from?
Absolutely. Keep an open mind. Gosh, friends, our time together is finished today. I have loved chatting with Cathy about this. I've loved chatting with you about this. Send us a message, y'all, on Facebook, on Instagram. Go to YouTube, shoot us a note. We would love to chat with you. We just encourage you in this new phase of life. We encourage you right where you are. Go get a group who is right where you are as well. Let them support you. You support them. For Cathy Enderbrock, I'm Coach Carrie Brinker, and we'll see you next time right here on Love Talk Network.